Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was the bodyguard of Azula. Naruto is banished from Konoha, but gives them the slip and boards a ship. Soon after, he is shipwrecked on Ember Island and is saved by Azula. 3 years later, Naruto is Azula's bodyguard while she hunts for the Avatar, but did he see the last of Konoha? Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 42, Stands and Missing. Location, Beach House. As the others lounged on the stairs, Aang was practicing his fire bending under Zuko's and Azula's supervision. More ferocious, ordered Zuko as he watched the Avatar. Imagine striking through your opponent's heart. I'm trying, Aang told him. This was a little harder than it looked. Trying isn't good enough, Azula stated. Now let us hear you roar like a tigadillo. The air nomad spun and roared lightly, breathing a small amount of fire. Realizing he did it wrong, he smiled sheepishly. That sounded pathetic. I said roar. He did it again, and this time, he actually roared. 3 jets of fire came to life, 2 from his hands and 1 from his mouth. The amount of fire and heat scared Momo, who ran behind Zuko's leg and held onto it. Zuko, as well as Azula, gave a small nod of approval. Who wants a nice cool glass of watermelon juice? Katara asked, holding up 2 watermelons with holes and straws. Ooh. Me, said Aang, turning around to face her. He tried to make a run for it, but Zuko grabbed him by his robe. Hey! Your lesson's not over yet, he told the air nomad. Get back here. He hoisted him up off the ground. Come on, Zuko, Suki said. Just take a break. What's the big deal? Isn't it obvious? Naruto asked as he lay on the top step with a cigarette in his mouth. Fine, Zuko growled. He let go of Aang, who immediately ran for the watermelon in Katara's hands. If you want to lounge around like a bunch of snail sloths all day, then go ahead. He walked away. Maybe Zuko's right, Sokka said. Even though we got back from Konoha a few days ago, we've done nothing but sit around the house. It's made us kinda lazy. And do you suggest we do? Azula asked as she walked to the stairs. I know just the thing. He stood up and pulled his clothes off, revealing swim trunks underneath. Let's hit the beach and party. Naruto groaned. No. Please, let's not do that. What's the matter? Can't swim? Suki asked the blonde. He looked at her. Please remember the fact that if we want to experience a stampede of fangirls, all I have to do is get wet. I'd rather not go that again, thank you. Yeah, we heard what happened at Tong, Katara said with a giggle. Anyway, it's decided. Let's go to the beach, Aang shouted. They all grabbed the necessary stuff and went down. Naruto decided to stay on the cliffs and work on his book. Jiraiya decided to help out a little bit. The others went down to the beach. Sokka leapt in first, hitting the water with a splash. Katara decided to surf the waves using her waterbending to make a surfboard out of ice. Suki decided to sit on a blanket and relax. Azula also sat on a blanket, but she was further back so she could watch all of the chaos. Check out my Appa sand sculpture, Aang told them as he finished said sculpture. It truly did look like Appa, complete with arrow and horns. Even Appa, the real one, was admiring it. Akela took one look and went back to sunning himself. Not bad, Baldy, Toph complimented him. But I've been working on my sand bending. You're gonna love this. She bent the sand to form a fairly big replica of Ba Sing Se. He walked closer to it and peered down, amazed at what he saw. Wow, you even made a little Earth King in Bosco. Try and top that, Sokka. She challenged him as he worked on his own sculpture. Oh, I know I'm not going to beat that, he replied. But here's mine. He stepped, reveling a sand sculpture that no one really knew was. Is that a blubbering blob monster? Aang asked as he looked at it. It's Suki, he answered, shocking the airbender. Both he and Toph started laughing. Suki, we'll all understand if you break up with him over this, Toph told her. I think it's sweet, the Kyoshi warrior replied, getting her a kiss from Sokka. It's the thought that counts, Azula agreed. But it doesn't even look, Aang began to say, only to be interrupted when a fireball came out of nowhere and smashed into the sculpture. Looking through the dust cloud, he saw Zuko leap off the cliffs, shooting fireballs at him. He leapt across the Ba Sing Se sculpture, which got hit by a fireball, and hid behind his Appa sculpture. What are you doing? He asked Zuko, who had landed on the sand and went after him. Teaching you a lesson, he answered, throwing another fireball at him. He leapt out of the way, letting it destroy the sculpture. He leapt for the cliffs and Zuko followed by climbing up them. What happened? Katara asked as she landed back on the beach. Zuko decided to stage a surprise attack, Azula said, like it was nothing too dangerous. He's chasing Aang right now. We're going after them, aren't we? Naruto asked from above. His only answer was the others running back up to the house. Come on, Jiraiya, he said to the Toad Sage as he stood up from where he sat. As Aang ran for his life, he ducked down to avoid a fireball thrown at him. He ran up a big rock and leapt into the top of a nearby tree. Zuko leapt over the rock and onto the ground, bending another fireball at him. He leapt for the roof as the fireball hit the tree, setting the leaves on fire. Get a grip before I blast you off this roof, he told Zuko, who joined him on the roof via climbing. Go ahead and do it, the scarred dragon replied. He threw another burst of fire at him, forcing him back over the roof. He hopped over an edge and then slid down the other side before leaping into the house through a window. He skidded through a doorway and hid behind a nearby dresser. As he peeked past the edge, he saw Zuko crash down from the roof and take a stance. He gave the dresser a hard shove and sent it flying at him, which he destroyed effortlessly. He followed Aang into the hallway. Bending his fire into circles, he set the surrounding area on fire. He then augmented the fire into a tunnel and sent towards the airbender. He kept on running, but the tunnel soon caught up with him. He reacted by using his airbending to extinguish the fire where he stood. Enough, he shouted, bending the air into a tunnel of his own. It barreled its way towards Zuko, extinguishing the fire and sending him flying out of the house. He crashed into a tree and fell down to the ground. What's wrong with you? Katara demanded as the others stood in front of him. You could have heard Aang. He wasn't even trying, Jiraiya commented. Now's not the time, Naruto told him. What's wrong with me? Zuko repeated as he stood back. What's wrong with all of you? How can you sit around having beach parties when Sozin's comet is only 3 days away? Everyone except for Naruto, Azula and Jiraiya just stared at him. Why are you looking at me like I'm crazy? What's going on? Azula asked. About Sozin's comet, I was actually gonna wait to fight the Fire Lord after it came, Aang admitted. After? She repeated. What? Naruto asked, completely surprised by what he had just heard. I'm not ready, the air nomad confessed. I need more time to master firebending. And frankly, your earthbending could use some work too, Toph told him, making him grimace. Aang, hold still, Naruto told him. I'm going to kill you. He gave a small yelp and stepped away. He was still weary of the Paragon, but it wasn't because of what was inside of him. In fact, after he had told them about the Kyuubi, they took it rather well. Sokka had stated that considering the things they had gone through, a demon fox sealed inside him was still surprising, but not by much. He was still nervous around the blonde, because of what he did in Konoha. So, you all knew Aang was going to wait? Zuko asked the others. I didn't. Jiraiya answered. Honestly, if Aang tries to fight the Fire Lord now, he's going to get killed. Sokka stated. The whole point of fighting the Fire Lord before the comet was to stop the Fire Nation from winning the war. Katara tried to explain what Aang was thinking. But they pretty much won the war when Naruto took control of Ba Sing Se. Things can't get any worse. Somebody always says it. Both Naruto and Jiraiya thought. You're wrong. Zuko told her, turning away. It's about to get worse than you can even imagine. What do you mean? The day before the eclipse, my father asked me to attend an important war meeting. It was what I dreamed about for so many years. My father had finally accepted me back. Flashback. He walked into the room and made his way to his place. Welcome, Prince Zuko. Ozai greeted him. We waited for you. He walked up the stairs and stood at his father's right side. He bowed once and then sat down. He noticed that Azula was sitting on the other side, and that Naruto was leaning against a nearby pillar. However, he also noticed that Yao Jing was sitting with the generals. General Shinu, your report. Thank you, sir. He stood up and walked to the other end of the map. Ba Sing Se is still under our control. However, Earthbender rebellions have prevented us from achieving total victory in the Earth Kingdom? What is your recommendation? Our armies are spread too thin, but once the eclipse is over and the invasion defeated, we should transfer more domestic forces into the Earth Kingdom. Prince Zuko, he said to his son. You've been among the Earth Kingdom commoners. Do you think that adding more troops will stop these rebellions? He broke eye contact and looked down at his lap. The people of the Earth Kingdom are proud and strong. They can endure anything as long as they have hope. Yes, you're right. We need to destroy their hope. Well, that's not exactly what I think you should take the hope, as well as their land, and burn it to the ground. Yao Jing said aloud. Despite surprising mostly everyone by speaking aloud, Ozai seemed to take her words seriously. Yes, you're right, Yao Jing. He stood up from his seat and began to walk down the stairs. Sozin's comet is almost upon us, and on that day, it will endow us with the strength and power of 100 suns. No bender will stand a chance against us. What are you suggesting, sir? Shinu asked. When the comet last came, my grandfather, Fire Lord Sozin, used it to wipe out the air nomads, he told them. Now, I will use it to end the Earth Kingdom permanently. That statement surprised Zuko, Azula, and Naruto. From our airships, we will rain fire over their lands. He stated, walking across the map. A fire that will destroy everything, and out of the ashes, a new world will be born, a world in which all the lands are Fire Nation, and I am the supreme ruler of everything. The generals began to clap at what he said, when Naruto spoke. You'll be the supreme ruler of everything, huh? He asked. I take it that means you're planning on attacking the elemental countries as well? Of course, I mean what I say, Lord Naruto. The Fire Lord answered. I trust you will be there to help us conquer those lands. He actually laughed at that. You would have your ass handed to you within 5 minutes of getting there. Maybe less if any of the countries decided to fight against you together. I think you're overestimating your former home. No, you're underestimating them. But since you won't believe me, I'll just say this. He suddenly disappeared from everyone's view. But before anyone could do anything, he reappeared right next to Ozai, his jian resting its edge on his throat. If you even think about setting your sights on the elemental countries, you will not live to see its shores. He threatened quietly. End flashback. I would have loved to seen that. Jiraiya declared, looking at the blonde with pride and approval shining in his eyes. Nice going, Gaki. Naruto didn't say anything in reply, he just avoided eye contact. I can't believe this. Katara said as she absorbed everything Zuko and Naruto had said. Oh, it gets even better. Naruto said in a fake cheerful voice. Yao Jing also plans to make the purge go more quickly. She's having an army mass at the northern part of the colony territories and move south. She had the royal flaming asshole's complete approval. I always knew the Fire Lord was a bad guy, but his plan is pure evil. Sokka said. What am I going to do? Aang asked. I know you're scared, Zuko told him as he stood up and walked over. And I know you're not ready to save this side of the planet. But if you don't defeat the Fire Lord before the comet comes, this side of the planet will be gone. Well, why didn't you tell me about your dad's crazy plan sooner? He demanded as he turned around and walked away. That would be because we thought you were still going to fight him before the comet came. Azula answered. But apparently, you decided to keep us out of the loop. This is bad. The Avatar declared, cradling his head and falling to his knees. This is really, really bad. Aang, you don't have to do this alone. Katara assured him. Yeah, Toph agreed as the others joined her. If we all fight the Fire Lord together, we got a shot at taking him down. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Avatar is back. Sokka declared. Aang stood back up to face them. Fighting the Fire Lord is going to be the hardest thing we've ever done together. He said. But I wouldn't want to do it any other way. Sokka, Toph, Suki and Katara all laughed as they walked over and have him a group hug. Come on, you guys. Katara told the others. Being part of the group also means being part of group hugs. While Zuko did join the hug, Naruto, Azula, and Jiraiya held back. No thanks, I'll just hug my girlfriend. Naruto told them. Plus, I can see the incoming sky bison. Jiraiya said. What? Aang asked. As if to answer his question, Appa flew in and landed right next to them. It kinda looked like he was trying to join the hug, the problem was he knocked everyone in the hug down. Both Jiraiya and Naruto got a laugh out of it. Location, Beach House Courtyard. After they managed to get Appa off, Zuko took Aang back into the courtyard. There's one technique you need to know before facing my father. He told him. It's how to redirect lightning. If you let the energy in your own body flow, the lightning will follow it. He explained as he showed the movements. You turn your opponent's energy against them. That's like waterbending. Aang noted as he followed the movements. Exactly, my uncle invented this technique himself by studying waterbenders. So, have you ever redirected lightning before? Twice, against Naruto and my father, he answered. What did it feel like? He stopped the movements. Exhilarating. He said, remembering the moments when he threw the lightning back at his opponents. But it's also terrifying. Aang's hopeful smile fell. You feel so powerful holding that much energy in your body. But you know if you make the wrong move it is over. Well, not over. The Avatar said, trying to stay upbeat. I mean there's always Katara and a little spirit water action, am I right? He asked Katara, who was sitting nearby. Actually, I used it all up after Yao Jing shot you. She told him. Oh. He said with disappointment. You'll have to take the Fire Lord's life before he takes yours. Zuko told him before walking away. Yeah, I'll just do that. The Avatar muttered to himself. Location, cliffs. Later, on the rocky part of the cliffs, Sokka was preparing for a training exercise. Gather round, Team Avatar. He ordered as he put a watermelon over a mannequin. In order to take out the Fire Lord, or in this case, the Melon Lord, our timing has to be perfect. He took a nearby stick and knelt down. First, Suki, Naruto, and I will draw his fire. Then Katara, Azula, and Zuko charge in with some liquidly hot offense. He explained as he drew out the plan in the dirt. And while the Melon Lord is distracted, Aang swoops in, and bam! He swiped the third line through the Melon Lord symbol. He delivers the final blow. What about me and Jiraiya? Asked Toph. FS Sensei is sitting this one out. As for you, you're the Melon Lord's forces. So, I get to chuck flaming rocks at all of you? You do whatever makes the training feel more realistic. Sweetness, she declared. Try not to go too overboard. Jiraiya told her. When they were ready, Toph stood in front of the melon with big rocks covered in grease, and a couple of small fire pits. She also decided to laugh evilly. The others placed themselves in the lower section of the cliffs. The Melon Lord sat on the highest part. Sokka looked out at the Melon Lord and then motioned the others to go. He, Suki, and Naruto charged forward, but were blocked by soldiers made out of stone. They swiftly cut them down or knocked them down and kept moving up. One of the big rocks was set on fire and thrown at them. Suki flipped over the top while Sokka and Naruto went around the sides. Watch it, Toph. Sokka yelled up at her. I am not Toph. I am Melon Lord. She replied before laughing evilly. Remember that thing I said about not going overboard? Jiraiya called out from his observation spot. She lit another rock and threw it at the second team. Zuko, Azula, and Katara dodged it and kept on running. They were surrounded by rock soldiers and they decimated them with virtually no effort. Both teams continued to make their way up the slope. Now, Aang, called Sokka. Aang leapt from his spot and flew through the air, staff ready. As he flew towards the Melon Lord, he looked at it and his feelings turned from anger into uncertainty. He landed in front of the target, but stopped himself just before he struck the fatal blow. When he saw this, Naruto gave Jiraiya a discreet nod. What are you waiting for? Zuko demanded from behind him. Take him out. I can't, he said. Sokka climbed up the slope until he stood in front of him. What's wrong with you? He demanded. If this was the real deal, you'd be shot full of lightning right now. I'm sorry, but it just didn't feel right. I didn't feel like myself. He sighed. Then we have no alternative. What? Aang, kill the Melon Lord or Katara dies. Jiraiya shouted from behind. Whipping his head around, he saw the Toad Sage held her in a tight grip and had a kunai at her throat. Do it. I can't kill him. The air nomad protested. He couldn't just take a life like that, it was sacred. Then she dies. Sokka, stop him. He pleaded. Kill the Melon Lord, Aang, or let Katara die. Sokka told him coldly. Those are your choices. But I can't do either of them. Then you've made your choice. Jiraiya declared. With no hesitation, he slit Katara's throat. He dropped her to the ground, the blood seeping out from her neck onto the rock. Congratulations, because of your hesitation, you've lost one of your teammates. As Aang just stared in shock, Sokka drew his Jian. This is how it's done. He swung the sword once and the Melon Lord's head fell in half. But thanks to you, my sister is dead. You could have stopped him. He accused the tribesman. You just stood there. He turned back to look at Katara's corpse and just stared at it. Let's go, everyone. Naruto said aloud. This exercise is over. When that was said, the blood flowing out from Katara disappeared, and she stood back up with no cut on her throat. What? How? Aang tried to ask, completely stunned to see the waterbender get back up. A genjutsu, Jiraiya answered. It was to make you think she was dead. I used it to see how you would react to the idea of having to kill someone to save one you know. And because of your indecisiveness, she was killed. Zuko told him. Wait, you knew? He asked, looking over at the scarred dragon. We all did. Toph told him. Naruto and Jiraiya told us what they were going to and ordered us not to interfere. This test was for you alone. And guess what? Naruto said. You failed. Location, beach house. Night had fallen as they ate their dinner. Aang sat away from the others as he stared down at his food. I have a surprise for everyone. Katara announced as she joined them with a rolled-up piece of paper. I knew it. You did have a secret thing with Haru. Toph crowed in triumph. Where did that come from? Azula asked out loud. Everyone else just shrugged their shoulders. They had no idea. Anyway, Katara continued. I was looking for cooking pots in the attic and I found this. She opened up the paper to reveal a painting of a baby on the beach, a big smile on his face. Look at baby Zuko. Isn't he cute? She cooed, making the others laugh, except for Zuko and Azula. Oh, lighten up. I'm just teasing. She told him when she saw he wasn't laughing. That's not me. He told her. It's my father. Huh, I can see the resemblance. Naruto stated as he looked at the picture. But he looked so sweet and innocent. Suki protested. Things change over time. Jiraiya told her with a serious tone in his voice, his face had a grim expression. He couldn't help but think of Orochimaru when he said those words. That sweet little kid grew up to be a monster. Azula stated. And the worst father in the history of fathers. Zuko added. But he's still a human being. Aang protested, getting everyone's attention. You're going to defend him? No, I agree with you. He put his food down and stood up, turning to face them. Fire Lord Ozai is a horrible person, and the world would probably be better off without him. But there's got to be another way. Like what? The scarred dragon asked him. I don't know. He immediately got an idea and perked up. Maybe we can make some pots of glue, and then I can use glue bending to stick his arms and legs together so he can't bend anymore. They just stared at him in silence. All those in favor of beating the stupidity of him, say aye. Naruto said. Quite a few of them said it. Aang took that as a sign that they didn't like his idea. This goes against everything I learned from the monks. He said as he began to pace back and forth in the courtyard. I can't just go wiping out people I don't like. Well, if you've got a good excuse, I don't think people will care. Sokka remarked. This isn't a joke, Sokka. He yelled at his friend, his temper beginning to snap. None of you understand the position I'm in. Aang, we do understand. Katara said. It's just what, Katara? He asked, cutting her off. What? We're trying to help. Then when you figure out a way to beat the Fire Lord without taking his life, I'd love to hear it. He shouted at her. That's it. Naruto unexpectedly roared. He lunged forward, grabbed Aang by the neck, and shoved him into the nearby rock wall. You need to grow the fuck up, Aang, and stop acting like a kid. But I am a kid. The air nomad protested. No, you're not. You stopped being a kid the moment they told you that you were the Avatar. Ozai has to die, accept that fact already. And what if he asks for mercy? Or forgiveness? He asked the blonde. Doesn't matter, you kill him either way. Oh, like you did back in Konoha? That man asked for mercy from you. He practically begged you to let him live, and you killed him. That man deserved to die. Naruto roared at him. No, he didn't. He tried to roar back. Yes, he did. Jiraiya spoke up, getting the attention of both of them. Naruto, let go of him. He ordered the blonde. Fine, he growled, releasing his grip and letting him go. And how would you know if he deserved death? Aang demanded as he rubbed his neck. I know better than anyone else. He stood up from where he sat. Orochimaru was part of the Sannin and my teammate. He performed experiments on people he had kidnapped. Some were even from Konoha. He would use them like guinea pigs and even killed some of them. All for the sake of achieving immortality and finding every single jutsu that was ever created. He eventually fled the village when his secrets were discovered and became a traitor. If he did all of that, then why didn't you kill him? Why did you let him run wild? Would you have been able to kill Sokka if he became a traitor? Or if Katara became one? He asked the air nomad after a moment of silence. Of course not, they're my friends. He was mine once too. That's why I couldn't kill him. Aang tried to argue the point, but his mouth couldn't say any words. Finally, he gave a shout of frustration and walked away. Aang, don't walk away from this. Katara told him. She started after him, but Zuko stopped her. Let him go, he said to her. He needs time to sort it out by himself. Location, Aang. He sat on the porch in a meditative position. Sitting on a table in front of him was food, water, and 4 candles. As he meditated, Momo flew in and landed in front of him, placing his paws on his lap. Hey, Momo, he said, petting the lemur's head. I don't suppose you know what I should. Momo just squawked. I didn't think so. He continued to meditate as the lemur moved to the side and put his head down. Later, after the candles had been extinguished and he had fallen asleep, something had appeared off the shore. He woke up, walked to the railing and jumped down to the ground, waking up Momo in the process. The lemur flew after him. He walked mechanically down to the beach. When he got to the shore and looked out at the island that had mysteriously appeared, he walked into the water and began to swim towards it. When he saw what he was doing, Momo flew after him. The next morning, everyone stood outside in the courtyard as Sokka packed everything into Appa's saddle. Okay, that's everything, he declared as the sky bison ate his breakfast. No, it's not. Where's Aang? Toph asked. Everyone shared a look. Oh boy, here we go. Naruto groaned. He just knew something like this was bound to happen. Less talking, more moving, Gaki, Jiraiya told him as the others ran inside. Aang? Aang, called Zuko as they climbed up one of the sets of stairs inside the house. Come on, lazy bones, let's go. Toph shouted. Split up and look for him, Azula ordered. No questioned the order, they just did it. As Azula, Toph, Naruto, and Zuko searched each room on one side of the house, the others did the same on the other side. But Aang was nowhere to be found. As Sokka wandered out onto the porch, he noticed something. He left his staff, he announced as he picked up said staff. That's so strange. Aang's not in the house, Zuko announced as the other party joined them. I think I know a way to find him. He held the staff out for Akela. See if you can get his scent, he told the wolf. Akela sniffed the staff and then sniffed the air. He then jumped over the railing and onto the ground, following the trail he had. Follow the wolf, people. They ran out of the house and followed Akela down to the beach. Hey, I see his footprints, Naruto told them. He was looking at a set of footprints that came from the house. It ends here, Sokka noted as they looked at how the trail ended at the waterline. So, he went for a midnight swim and never came back? Suki suggested. Maybe he was captured, Katara suggested as well. There's no sign of a struggle, Jiraiya told her. He had enough years of experience to know what to look for if there was a struggle or fight, even on a beach. I bet he ran away again, Toph said. He left behind his Gilder and Appa. Sokka said. Then what do you think happened to him, oh sleuthy one? Maybe he's on a spirit world journey. Wouldn't his body be here if he was? Naruto asked the tribesman. I don't think even Aang is stupid enough to leave his body on a beach close to the water. Good point. Then he's got to be somewhere on Ember Island. Katara said. Let's split up and look for him. I'm going with Zuko. Toph declared as she grabbed hold of his arm, making the others stare. What? Everyone else went on a life-changing field trip with Zuko. Now it's my turn. You do that, Toph. Naruto told her. The fucking sadist, and I will hold down the fort. And why are you doing that? Azula asked. I would stick out like a sore thumb. He pointed to his hair. And he would make a pass at every woman that comes into his eyesight. He pointed at the toad sage. I take offense at that. Jiraiya told him. It's true, isn't it? After they took the fight back to the house, the others got to work. Azula and Sokka took Appa and flew around the perimeter of the island. Katara and Suki checked the towns, one in which they encountered actors from the play that shall not be named. They had to refrain themselves from causing a massacre. Toph and Zuko checked the beaches. Toph tried to tell Zuko her life story before he told her that they should focus on looking for Aang. After she heard that, she declared this to be the worst field trip ever. But they didn't find him. They made their way back to the beach house, where Sokka and Azula met up with them. Judging by the looks on your faces, I'm guessing you guys didn't find Aang either. Sokka said, jumping down to the ground. No. Zuko answered. It's like he just disappeared. Hey, wait a minute. Toph said. Has anyone noticed Momo is missing too? Sokka looked at Akela. I thought I told you that you couldn't eat the lemur. He said. The wolf managed to look offended and barked his protest. Don't give me that. I've seen you eyeballing Momo. Sokka, Akela didn't eat Momo. Naruto told him. I think we would have noticed if he did. There would have been a great deal of screeching in panic from Momo and running away from the wolf. Yeah, Momo's probably with Aang. Katara agreed. Besides, we have a real problem here. Zuko said. Aang is nowhere to be found and the comet is only 2 days away. Then what should we do? He stood up. I don't know. The others just kept looking up at him. Why are you looking at me? Well, you, Azula, and Naruto are kind of the experts on Aang. The waterbender told him. Yeah, if anyone's got experience tracking the Avatar, it's you guys. Toph agreed. How kind of you to notice that, Azula remarked with slight sarcasm. Be nice. Naruto told her. Although, we should the one with the most experience speak first. He looked at Zuko, making everyone do the same. Sokka, is everything packed up and on Appa? He finally asked. You know it is. You helped. He answered. Then everyone saddle up. They all climbed aboard their respective animals, Zuko, Naruto, and Azula on Fan Ing, everyone else on Appa, and took off, flying away from Ember Island and from the Fire Nation. Why are we heading to the Earth Kingdom? Suki asked. Aang's not there. Just trust me. He told her as they flew on. Location, Fire Nation capital. A ship stood ready at the docks, waiting for Ozai. The Fire Lord was being carried to the ship by palanquin. A good distance behind him was another palanquin. This one carried his recently legitimized daughter, Yao Jing. As they passed soldiers bowing low to the ground, their heads were touching the pavement. Yao Jing felt that she was getting there slower than her father. Come on, you idiots. Faster. She ordered the bearers, who began running to the ship. By the time she had gotten there, Ozai had already exited his palanquin and walked up the steps to the ship. Sorry I'm late, father. She apologized after she had run up the stairs and knelt down on one knee. Good palanquin bearers are so hard to come by these days. So, is everything ready for our departure? There has been a change of plans, Yao Jing. Ozai told her. What? I've decided to lead the fleet of airships to Ba Sing Se alone. You will remain here in the Fire Nation. But I thought we were going to do this together. At least let me have command of the second force. She almost begged with that last sentence, but managed to refrain herself. My decision is final. You can't treat me like this. She protested, standing up. You can't treat me like a cast-off, like you did with Zuko and Azula. Yao Jing, silence yourself. But it was my idea to burn everything to the ground. I deserve to be at your side. Yao Jing. He barked once, turning his head slightly to look at her. She closed her mouth, crushing the next protest she had, and lowered her head. Listen to me. I need you to watch over the homeland. It's a very important job that I can only entrust to you. Really? She asked, a small amount of hope showing in her voice. And for your loyalty, I've decided to declare you the new Fire Lord. He turned around completely to face her. Fire Lord Yao Jing? It does sound appropriate, but what about you? She asked him. If she was to be the Fire Lord, what did that mean for her father? Fire Lord Ozai is no more. He told her as fire sages began to dress him in armor. Just as the bending countries will be reborn in fire, I shall be reborn as the supreme ruler of these lands. A helmet was placed on his head. From this moment on, I shall be known as the Phoenix King. He raised his hands up into the air. A giant banner was raised up behind him with the emblem of a phoenix on it. Imperial firebenders in black armor raised smaller banners with the same emblem next to the flag of the Fire Nation. 2 firebenders bent their fire into the pots at the bottom of the poles, causing fire to sprout out of phoenixes' heads on the side of the poles. The crowd bowed before the Phoenix King. Yao Jing did so too, but inside, she felt cheated. She grew up believing that the position of the Fire Lord was the position that held the most power. She had just gotten that position, but her father gave it to her like it was old and boring. The one who held the most power now was the Phoenix King. Location: Earth Kingdom. We're here, Zuko announced as they flew to a tavern in a forest. They landed nearby and got off, able to hear the music coming from inside. You guys go on in, Naruto told the others. Jiraiya and I will stay out here. They started walking to the tavern. Where am I out here? Jiraiya asked the blonde. To help me make sure the animals don't do anything and to keep me company, he answered. That's fair. He noticed something standing behind the fire paragon. Naruto, look out. He turned around and saw what was standing in front of him. Hello, ugly, he greeted. They walked into the tavern and saw that a fight was going on. And the reason you brought us to a seedy Earth Kingdom tavern is what now? Katara asked Zuko. June, he answered, pointing at a young woman with black hair, as well as a skull adornment holding her topknot and with snake tattoo on both of her shoulders. She sat at a table with a cup of tea in hand. Oh yeah, that weird bounty hunter with the giant mole, Sokka remembered as they watched her fight against 2 opponents while still holding on to the tea. Mole? Repeated Suki. Her skin is flawless. No, she has this giant mole creature she rides around on. The Shirshu, Zuko said. It's the only animal that can track Aang's scent anywhere in the world. It's the one shot of finding him. June dodged her opponent's punches while also backing up. She tossed the cup into the air, grabbed hold of the opponent as he threw another punch, and tossed him at a nearby table, taking him out of the fight. She grabbed the cup as it came back down and drank with both ease and nonchalance. That was impressive, Azula said. Yeah, Toph agreed. I don't know who this June lady is, but I like her. Location, Aang and Momo. Aang woke to the feeling of Momo licking his face. Hey Momo, he greeted as he sat up. I just had the strangest dream. That was when he noticed the surrounding area looked a little different. Wait. Both he and Momo looked out to the sea and didn't see Ember Island anywhere in sight. Where are we? Chapter 43, Reflections and Masters. Location, Earth Kingdom Tavern. They watched as June kicked a seat away from a table and sit in it. So, she helped you attack them? Azula asked her brother for clarification. Yep, he answered. Back in the good old days. He walked over to the bounty hunter and the others followed. Oh great, it's Prince Pouty. June said when she saw them come over, a frown appearing on her face. Where's your creepy grandpa? He's my uncle. He replied. And he's not here. I see you work things out with your girlfriend. She said when she noticed Katara. She's not his / my girlfriend. The two of them shouted at her after blushing. Okay, sheesh. I was only teasing. She took a drink. So, what do you want? I need your help finding the Avatar. Doesn't sound like fun. Does the end of the bending countries as you know it sound more fun to you? He demanded. That got her attention. Appa and the Shersha were growling at each other before the Sky Bison gave it a big lick. Akela and Fanning just watched the two with blank expressions. Naruto and Jiraiya, however, were watching with amusement. That has got to be one of the oddest things I've ever seen. Jiraiya commented. And considering how old I am, that's saying something. I'm sure it is, considering how many toads you've lived with. Naruto told him. And what's wrong with toads? Nothing, I'm just pointing out the fact. The blonde replied. Of course you are. He turned his attention to the tavern. They're coming out. Naruto looked over the incoming group and fixed his gaze on June. I see you're still hanging out with this ugly thing. He called out, pointing at the Shershu. And I see you're still an idiot who doesn't know when to shut his mouth. She replied, narrowing her eyes at him. I'm not the one who fell asleep in an inn and somehow woke up out at sea. He retorted, his face morphing into a glare. No, you're just the one who walked right into an enemy's trap without even knowing it. You wanna go right now, bitch? He asked in a growl. Try me, pretty boy. She replied. They walked towards each other with the intent to kill or at least maim. But as they stood in front of each other, they did something no one expected. They slapped their hands together and began to arm wrestle. At first, it looked like it was a draw, but then Naruto began to push hers down. You've gotten better. She noted. Or you've gotten sloppy. He replied. Finally, he pushed her hand all the way down. I win. He declared with a grin. Yes, you have. She said, before breaking out a grin as well. How've you been, Naruto? I've been doing well, how about you, June? He asked her. Fine, I've been hitting a good streak lately. Good to hear. Hold on, you two know each other? Zuko asked, surprised. But now that he thought about it, he really shouldn't be so surprised. The blonde could make friends with anyone. We've worked together on a few things. Naruto told him. How did you guys meet? Sokka asked. I was tracking a bounty who also happened to be a deserter from the Fire Nation army. June answered. We ran into each other and agreed to work together. Since then, we stayed on good terms and helped out the other whenever we met up again. Speaking of helping, weren't we doing something? The blonde asked her pointedly. She turned to the Shershu. Nyla, she called lovingly, holding a piece of meat. She threw it at him, and he caught it, chewing it up before swallowing it. Who's my little, snuffly wuffly? She asked in a cooing voice, petting his head. Snuffly wuffly? Repeated Naruto. That's a new one. The Shirshu heard him and shot his tongue out at him. He quickly ducked and rolled out of the way. Whoa. Careful there, she told the creature before turning to face the human. What did you say to him this time? All I said was hello ugly dot. He protested. Why would you keep making him mad? It's not my fault he takes offense at being called that. He's the one who looks like he was spawned out from under a half-rotten log. Nyla snarled at those words. I take it the two of you don't get along? Katara asked, looking at the two of them. Let me put it this way, I don't know anything that is as unnerving and disturbing than waking and seeing a creature without any eyes giving you the hairy eyeball. The blonde told her. He can do that? Suki asked, surprised. He can do it very well. Why would he be giving you the hairy eyeball? Sokka asked. There just had to be a story behind something like that. Well, there was that one time where June and I had to share a tent for the night. He began. What? Azula asked, her eyes narrowing in suspicion. Don't worry. Nothing happened on my part. He looked pointedly at June. Hey, I didn't do anything. She protested. I'm sorry, who was the one who rolled over in the middle of the night in a cramped tent? He asked the rhetorical question. Okay, who's got something with the Avatar's scent on it? She asked, changing the subject before the conversation could continue. I have Aang's staff. Katara said, climbing atop Appa, grabbing the glider staff and handing it to her. She offered it to Nyla, who took in the scent. He started to sniff the air and pace the area, sorting out the scents. When he was done, he came back over her, lay down on the ground and covered his nose. Well, what does that mean? Zuko asked her. Means your friend's gone, she answered as she petted Nyla's head. We know he's gone. That's why we're trying to find him. Toph said. No, I mean he's gone. She replied as she stood up. He doesn't exist. Of course, he isn't. Naruto remarked sarcastically. Why in the name of Kami would he try to make this easy? Location, Aang. Where are we, Momo? Aang asked as he walked through the forest while Momo chased furry things. Maybe I'm in the spirit world? But wait. You can see me. He told the lemur as he walked under a fallen tree. We could both be in the spirit world. He took a stance and bent the air. No, my bending works. Maybe if we climb to the top of the island, we can figure out where we are. Location, tavern. What do you mean Aang doesn't exist? Sokka asked the bounty hunter. Are you saying he's dead? Nope, we could find him if he were dead. June told him. Wow. It's a real head-scratcher. See ya. She climbed aboard Nyla, ready to leave. Helpful, real helpful, Toph said sarcastically. She's a businesswoman, Toph. Naruto told her. Wait. I have another idea. Zuko said. There's another person on this side of the planet who can help us face the Fire Lord. I'll be right back with a smell sample. He told June before running over to Appa. He came back holding a sandal that smelled and had flies buzzing around it. You saved your uncle's sweaty sandal? Sokka asked as he covered his nose to protect his sense of smell. I've seen weirder mementos. Jiraiya said, not batting an eye at the smell. Like what? Naruto asked him. Well, there was this one mission where I met a woman who had this shrine to a vibrator and... Stop right there before I get nightmares. Forget I even asked. I think it's kinda sweet. Toph said. Nyla lurched forward and smelled the sandal. Let's do this. June said, yanking Nyla off the sandal. The Shirsha ran down the road, away from the tavern. Hey, wait up. Zuko yelled as they got on Appa and Fan Ing and went after her. They raced through the night and then through the day. Even though they were able to keep up, they were still surprised to see Nyla run that much without resting. As the sun disappeared and evening began, they finally stopped. "So Iroh is in Ba Sing Se?" Azula asked as they landed outside the hole in the outer wall. "Your uncle's somewhere beyond the wall," June told them. "Nyla's getting twitchy, so he can't be far." She turned Nyla around. "Good luck. See you around, Naruto." "Bye, June. Remember, you still owe me that 40. He replied. "I'll pay you back next time." She and Nyla ran back the way they came. "You always say that." He shouted at her retreating form. "All right, everyone set up camp." Jiraiya told them, taking command. "We'll start the search in the morning." Location, Aang. He walked up the slope with Momo around his neck. As they went up, they found a peculiar shape in the ground that looked like it dug to the rock. "It's a hexagon," he said as he walked down onto it. "It doesn't seem like normal rock." He told the lemur as he knelt to look at it closer. Momo had jumped down from his neck. He took an earth-bending stance and tried to bend it, only to fail. "It's not made of earth. This is so strange. I wish I had help right now. I wish I had Roku," he said as he sat down. He then realized something important. "I do have Roku." He took a meditative position and closed his eyes, breathing deeply. Momo scurried off as blue mist began to surround Aang's body. The mist broke off and moved in front of him, where it took the image of the previous avatar, Roku. "You're right, Aang," the spirit told him. "All the avatars, all their experience and wisdom, are available to you if you look deep inside yourself." "So, where am I, Roku? What is this place?" I don't know, Aang," he admitted. "But I see you are lost in more ways than one right now." "I am. I need to figure out what to do once I face the Fire Lord." Location, outer wall. Everyone was sleeping. Since they were too tired to set up the tents, they slept on either Appa's legs, or in the saddle. The only ones who weren't sleeping there were Jiraiya, who was sleeping lightly with his back to rock, and Toph, who was sleeping underneath an earth tent. Feeling vibrations in the earth, she woke up and bent the earth tent into the ground. Jiraiya was 5 seconds ahead of her. "Everyone, wake up," he ordered as he stood up. The others did, but it was too late. A fire spread from the hole and encircled them. The only way out was through the hole. As they looked at the hole, they saw 4 people standing on top of the rubble, looking down at them. But the confusion on some of their faces melted away, and excitement was replaced when they saw who the 4 were. "Well, look who's here," Bumi declared as he laughed and snorted. Location, Aang. "Everyone expects me to take the Fire Lord's life, but I just don't know if I can do that," Aang told Roku. He was an air nomad. How could he expect to kill someone? "In my life, I try to be disciplined and show restraint," Roku said. "But it backfired when Fire Lord Sozin took advantage of my restraint and mercy. If I had been more decisive and acted sooner, I could have stopped Sozin and stopped the war before it started. I offer you this wisdom, Aang, you must be decisive." His image faded away and disappeared, leaving evaporating blue mist. Location, outer wall. "What's going on?" Toph asked everyone. "We're surrounded by old people." And she didn't know any of them. "Not just any old people," Katara told her. "These are great masters and friends of ours." She walked up and bowed to the first one. Pakku, she greeted her former waterbending master. "It is respectful to bow to an old master," he replied as he returned the bow. "But how about a hug for your new grandfather?" Both Sokka and Katara were surprised by that. "That's so exciting." She cheered, giving him a hug. You and Gran must be so happy to have found each other again. I made her a new betrothal necklace and everything. Welcome to the family, Gramps. Sokka declared as he gave his former master a hug. You can still just call me Paku, he said as he pushed the water paragon away. How about just Gramps? Fine. And this was Aang's first firebending teacher. Katara told Zuko and Azula as they before the second person and bowed to him. Zhong. He introduced himself. The deserter? Asked Azula. Yes. And we'll keep it at that. Zuko told her. The men before them were friends of Aang. They didn't need to make anything worse. Master Piandao. Sokka greeted the third man with a bow. Hello, Sokka. He greeted back with a bow of his head. So, you're Piandao, huh? Jiraiya asked the swordsman, walking to him. Yes, and you are? My name is Jiraiya. It's an honor to meet the student of Kenji Uzumaki. He bowed to him. I would also like to thank you for holding on to the scroll he gave you, it was a priceless treasure. So, wait. How do you all know each other? Suki asked. All old people know each other, don't you know that? Bumi asked her before laughing. We are all part of the same ancient secret society. A group that transcends the divisions of the four nations, Piandao told them. The Order of the White Lotus, Zuko said, realizing who they were. That's the one. Bumi said. The White Lotus has always been about philosophy and beauty and truth. Zhong explained to them all. But about a month ago, a call went out that we were needed for something important. It came from a Grand Lotus, your uncle, Iroh of the Fire Nation. Paku told Zuko and Azula. Well, that's who we're looking for. Toph said. Then we'll take you to him. Piandao replied. Wait. Bumi interrupted. Someone's missing from your group. Someone very important. He got up in Sokka's face. Where's Momo? He's gone, and so is Aang. The tribesman answered. Oh well. So long as they have each other, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about. Let's go. He bent the earth underneath him to send him flying back over the wall. They all watched as he flew through the air. Has he ever thought about cutting down on the rock candy? Naruto asked aloud. No one answered. Location, Aang. Avatar Kyoshi, I need your wisdom. He said aloud as he stayed in his meditation position. The blue mist appeared again, taking the form of the pervious Earth Kingdom Avatar. In my day, Qin the Conqueror threatened to throw the bending countries out of balance. Kyoshi told him. I stopped him. And the world entered a great era of peace. But you really didn't kill Qin. He protested. Technically, he fell to his own doom because he was too stubborn to get out of the way. She didn't kill him herself. Personally, I don't see the difference. But I assure you, I would have done whatever it took to stop Qin. I offer you this wisdom, Aang, only justice will bring peace. The image shrunk and disappeared. I knew I shouldn't have asked Kyoshi. He stated with a scowl. Why did he even call on her in the first place? Location, Team Avatar. So, Bumi, how did you end escaping your imprisonment in Omashu? Sokka asked as they walked along a stone trail through the agrarian zone. They were all walking in a single file as the trail was rather tight. Escape? Repeated Bumi. I didn't escape. Everyone else escaped. There I was back in Omashu, waiting for just the right moment. I didn't know what or when, but I knew I'd know it when I knew it. Flashback. He hung in his iron cage, swinging in the air. He looked up and saw the moon blocking the sun. An eclipse, he said. That should do it. He bent the roofs beneath him to break up into rocks and flew up. They struck the sides of the cage door and cracked it open, letting him jump down to the ground. As he landed, nearby guards ran up to him. "What do you think you're doing?" the lead guard demanded. He tried to bend fire, but got nothing. He and the other guards tried again, but still got nothing. "Taking back my city," declared Bumi with a grin. "You've got no firepower. And it's payback time." He leapt into the city and used his earthbending to push houses that had pieces of Fire Nation factories out of Omashu. He had removed a good chunk of the city, and then he turned his attention to the giant metal statue of Ozai standing at the top. He threw several chunks of rock into the statue, and then used those to bring the statue down. The hard part was pulling out from the ground, but once he had tipped it, gravity took effect. The statue fell onto one of the mail chutes and slid down the mountain, eventually destroying the front gate and the bridge that connected the city to the rest of the land. As he watched this all happen, he laughed and ate a piece of rock candy. End flashback. "Wow. You took back your whole city all by yourself," Suki said, impressed by what the old king had done. "I'm glad you kept your promise, Bumi," Naruto told him. "I do try to keep them," he replied. "So, what about you guys? Did you do anything interesting on the day of the eclipse?" Both Zuko and Sokka shared a look. "Nah," Zuko said. "No, not really," Sokka said. "Location, Aang." He held his head. "I need to look deep inside myself," he said quietly. He closed his eyes again. The blue mist took the form of a man in water tribe clothing. Although it wasn't knowledge he was actively aware of, he knew this was the pervious avatar of the water tribe. "I am Avatar Kuruk," he introduced himself. "When I was young, I was always a go-with-the-flow kind of avatar. People seemed to work out their own problems, and there was peace and good times in this part of the world. But then, I lost the woman I loved to Ko, the face stealer. It was my fault. If I had been more attentive and more active, I could have saved her. Aang, you must actually shape your own destiny and the destiny of these countries." He disappeared like a ripple in the water. Location, Team Avatar. "Well, here we are," Bumi said as they walked into the camp. "Welcome to Old People Camp." "Bumi, please stop calling it that," Pakku told him. Where is he?" Zuko asked as he looked around. But he didn't see the person he was looking for. "Your uncle's in there, Prince Zuko," Piandao said, pointing at a tent. He walked over to the tent and stared at it. He took a step towards the entrance but stopped and sat down. "Are you okay?" Katara asked as she walked over to him. "No, I'm not okay," he answered. "My uncle hates me, I know it. He loved and supported me in every way he could, and I still turned my back on him. How can I even face him?" She knelt down beside him. "Zuko, you're sorry for what you did, right?" "More sorry than I've been about anything in my life," he told her. "Then he'll forgive you." "He will." He looked at her and then stood up. "Azula, are you going to come in as well?" he asked without turning around. His sister was still standing with the rest of the team. "No, you can go first," she told him. He needed it more than she did right now. He took a deep breath and walked into the tent. "Uncle?" he called out quietly as he walked in. He found Iroh sleeping in the bed and snoring loudly. He smiled to himself and sat down in front of him. Location, Aang. All these past avatars, Aang said to himself and Momo. They keep telling me I'm gonna have to do it. They don't get it. Momo chittered at him. You're right. Maybe an air nomad avatar will understand where I'm coming from. The lemur just stared at him. I know you can't really talk. Pretending you can just helps me think. He was chittered at again. I'm going to pretend I didn't pretend to hear that. He began to concentrate again as Momo scurried off. The blue mist took the form of a young woman in air nomad clothing. Just by that simple fact he knew that she was the pervious avatar of the air nomads. "I am Avatar Yangchen, young airbender." She introduced herself. "Avatar Yangchen, the monks always taught me that all life is scared," he told her. "Even the life of the tiniest spider fly caught in its own web." "Yes. All life is scared," she agreed. Finally, someone was agreeing with what he believed in. "I know, I'm even a vegetarian. I've always tried to solve my problems by being quick or clever. And I've only had to use violence for necessary defense. And I've certainly never used it to take a life. Avatar Aang, I know that you're a gentle spirit, and the monks have taught you well. But this is not about you. This is about the bending countries," she told him with firm but gentle voice. "But the monks taught me that I had to detach myself from the world so my spirit could be free," he protested. "Many great and wise air nomads have detached themselves and achieved spiritual enlightenment. But the Avatar can never do it, because your sole duty is to these countries. Here is my wisdom for you. Selfless duty calls you to sacrifice your own spiritual needs, and do whatever it takes to protect the world." She disappeared as the blue mist disappeared from a small gust of wind. "So that's it, huh?" he asked aloud. "Even an air nomad, one of my own people, is telling me to kill the Fire Lord. Is there anyone else I can ask for help?" An idea came to him. "No. There's one more person I can try. The first Avatar. He or she must have gone through something similar, she or he can help me." He closed his for the 5th time. The blue mist rolled off his body, and moved in front of him again. At first, it took the form of Roku, then it changed into Kyoshi, then Kuruk, then Yangchen, until the images of past avatars began to blur together. One face would change into the next as he concentrated. Finally, the mist stopped moving and took on a form. He opened his eye and was surprised. Sitting in front of him was a boy a few years older than he was. He wore an old suit of armor, and had a good amount of hair on his head. But there was no mistaking the arrow tattoo on his forehead or the face he wore. "You're me," he said in surprise. "It seems that you are not just my spiritual successor, but my physical one as well." The first avatar noted, looking at him and taking in every detail. "What is your name?" This was becoming a little surreal, but he had to ask. "I do not have one. It was taken from me." He looked Aang straight in the eye. "What is it you need?" "I need your advice. Everyone expects me to kill the Fire Lord, and I don't know if I can do it. I've asked my predecessors and they have all told me that I have to kill him. I thought that since you were the first avatar, you could help me. If the avatar is now the title of the person who carries the powers, then I am not the first," he said curtly. "I am simply the last host of the tyrant. Whatever destiny I had was taken from me when he took control of my life. He used me as his vessel as he ruled a vast empire that was terrifying and ruthless. When the 4 leaders of the rebellion attacked me and by extension him, the one who struck the killing blow was my older sister." "What? How could she do that?" "You were her brother. And it was for that fact that she hesitated before striking me down and shed tears afterwards. If I had not told her to do it, all they did would have been for naught. It was her duty to kill me, whether I was her brother or not did not matter. I was the host of the tyrant and so I had to die. If you wish for my advice, I will tell you this: if killing this Fire Lord will ensure the safety of the bending countries, then do your duty." His shape faded away, as did the mist. He sat in silence as the lemur came back to him. "I guess I don't have a choice, Momo," he told the creature. "I have to kill the Fire Lord." Location: Iroha's tent. Morning had come and Zuko hadn't moved from his spot. When Iroha awoke, he stretched and yawned, but he didn't turn his head to look at his nephew. Uncle, Zuko began. I know you must have mixed feelings about seeing me. The Dragon of the West stayed silent. But I want you to know, he began to cry. I'm so sorry, Uncle. I'm so sorry and ashamed for what I did. I don't know how I can ever make it up to you. But he didn't finish what he was saying, due to the fact that Iroh turned around and pulled him into a tight hug, crying as well. How can you forgive me so easily? I thought you would have been furious with me. I was never angry with you. Iroh told him. I was sad because I was afraid that you had lost your way. I did lose my way. He admitted. But you found it again. He released him from the hug. And you did it by yourself. And I am so happy you found your way here. He hugged him again. It wasn't that hard, Uncle. You have a pretty strong scent. Location, Aang. He had fallen asleep on the strange rock alongside Momo. When he woke up, he yawned and sat up. Then he noticed something. Wait. Is it just me, or are those mountains getting bigger? He asked as he saw mountains on a nearby shore. After sharing a look with Momo, he used his air bending to jump to the tallest tree on the island to get a better look. Both he and Momo looked at the mountains, and behind them, seeing a wake left in the water. They're not getting larger, they're getting closer. He leapt down from the tree and ran down the slope. The whole island is moving, he declared. Reaching the edge, he leapt off the island and sailed into the water. He swam down to investigate the bottom of the island. As he looked, he saw something out of the corner of his eye. He turned to look at it, only to swim backwards in order to avoid a large paw moving through the water. He swam back up to the surface, breathing in the air. It's amazing, Momo, he told the lemur who had landed nearby. It's the biggest animal in the world. I've got to swim around and find its face. He started swimming and Momo flew after him. Location, White Lotus Camp. Everyone sat in a group for breakfast. Uncle, you're the only person other than the Avatar who can possibly defeat the Father Lord. Zuko told him. You mean the Fire Lord? Toph corrected him. That's what I just said. No, you definitely said Father Lord. Azula said with a smirk. Save the teasing for later, Azula, Naruto told her. As Iroh stared at his breakfast in silence, Zuko continued. We need you to come with us, he urged. No, Zuko, it won't turn out well, he finally answered. You can beat him. And we'll be there to help. Even if I did defeat Ozai, and I don't know if I could, it would be the wrong way to end the war. History would see it as more senseless violence, a brother killing a brother to grab power. Iroh, I'm going to sound a bit blunt, but fuck history, Naruto told him. Let historians haggle and debate about us later on. We need to focus on now. I am focused, Naruto, he replied. The only way for this war to end peacefully is for the Avatar to defeat the Fire Lord. The blonde gave an annoyed sigh at his words. It was that kind of attitude that made the war last for a century. He's still right, Gaki, Jiraiya said. If we want to end this war with minimal bloodshed, Aang has to be the one to beat Ozai. If he did that, would you come back and take your rightful place on the throne? Zuko asked Iroh. No, he answered. Someone new must take the throne, an idealist with a pure heart and unquestionable honor. It has to be you, Prince Zuko. You're not going to complain about how it should be you. Sokka asked Azula. During the invasion, I told Ozai I was no longer his daughter. She told him. I had effectively casted myself out of the royal line. Unquestionable honor? Repeated Zuko. But I've made so many mistakes. Yes, you have. Iroh agreed. You've struggled, you've suffered, but you have always followed your own path. You've restored your own honor, and only you can restore the honor of the Fire Nation. I'll try, Uncle. Well, what if Aang doesn't come back? Toph asked. Sozin's comet is arriving and our destinies are upon us. Aang will have to face the Fire Lord. He fell silent for a minute. When I was a boy, I had a vision that I would one day take Ba Sing Se. Only now do I see that my destiny is to take it back from the Fire Nation, so the Earth Kingdom can be free again. That's why you gathered the members of the White Lotus. Suki said in realization. He would need help if he was going to succeed in his mission. Yes. He turned his attention to his nephew. Zuko, you must return to the Fire Nation, so that when the Fire Lord falls, you can assume the throne and restore peace and order. But Yao Jing will be there, waiting for you. I can handle Yao Jing. He replied. Not alone, you'll need help. Don't worry about that, Uncle. Azula told him. I'll be going too. Zuko nodded his thanks and turned his attention to Katara. Katara, how would you like to help us put Yao Jing in her place? He asked her. It would be my pleasure. She answered. What about us? Sokka asked. What is our destiny today? What do you think it is? Iroh asked back. I think that, even though we don't know where Aang is, we need to do everything we can to stop the airship fleet and that second army. And that means when Aang does face the Fire Lord, we'll be right there if he needs us. Toph declared. Then you, Sokka, and Suki take care of the airships. Jiraiya and I will deal with the army. Naruto stated. We may have to borrow Appa to get there. Why's that? The blind earthbender asked him. How else are we going to get to them? Zuko's group can take Fanning to get to the Fire Nation. What about us? Suki asked. I can answer that. Piandao told as he came over. Finish your food and come see me when you're done. They did so, and once they were done, they packed the things they needed and rejoined the Sword Master. Naruto and Jiraiya climbed aboard Appa and surprisingly, Akela joined them. I guess we have an extra member. Jiraiya commented. Meanwhile, both Toph and Suki had got on an eelhound. Nothing runs faster over land or swims quicker than giant eelhound. Piandao told Sokka, who wore his armor and helmet. The airship base is on a small island just off the Earth Kingdom shore. He told the tribesman as he handed him a map. You should be able to intercept the fleet within a day's journey. He opened the map and quickly looked over it. Thank you, Master. He said. They bowed to each other, and then he gave his teacher a hug. Off to the side, Zuko and his group had already climbed aboard Fanning. So, if I'm going to be the Fire Lord after the war is over, what are you going to do? Zuko asked Iroh. After I reconquer Ba Sing Se, I'm going to reconquer my tea shop, and I'm going to play Pai Sho every day. He declared as he flipped a Pai Sho piece in the air and caught it. If that's the case, I want to play the first match. Jiraiya told him from atop of Appa. Everyone shared a look and nodded in agreement. They were ready. Goodbye, General Iroh. Katara said. Goodbye, everyone. He replied. Today, destiny is our friend. I know it. The eelhound took off and the dragon followed it. The sky bison, however, went in a different direction. But all three left the White Lotus camp behind. Location, Aang. As the island moved closer to the shore, Aang swam forward to the front. Once he was certain he was close enough, he took a deep breath and dived underneath the water. He swam downward and then stopped. As he held himself in the water, he noticed that an eye opened up right in front of him, making swim back in surprise. One of the giant paws caught him and forced up to the surface. As both he and the paw emerged from the water, so did the face of the creature. He knew that he had been on the back of a creature, but he didn't know what kind of creature it was. Now he did. A lion turtle, he said with awe in his voice as he looked upon the oldest creature in the world before bowing to it. Maybe you can help me. Everyone, even my own past lives, are expecting me to end someone's life. But I don't know if I can do it. The true mind can weather all the lies and illusions without being lost. The true heart can tough the poison of hatred without being harmed, the lion turtle told him as it raised its other paw out of the water. Since beginning less time, darkness thrives in the void, but always yields to purifying light. He placed a claw on Aang's head and on his heart. Bright light shone from the contact as Aang reveled in the information given to him. Once they were done, the lion turtle took him to the shore and held out a claw at a cliff. Aang walked onto the cliff without turning his back, looking directly at it as Momo landed on his shoulder. Wait for him. The ancient creature told him. He will come. He bowed once more as the lion turtle sank into the water and swam away. He shared a single look with Momo, and then made his way from the shore. Location: Airship Fleet. On a small island, Ozai stood over his fleet and looked out at the sea. It's time for these countries to end in fire and for a new empire to be born from the ashes, he declared. As both he and the Avatar watched and waited, the sun slowly began to rise and Sozan's comet entered the planet's atmosphere. Chapter 44, Battlegrounds and Reclaiming. Location: Fanning. As the comet went through the atmosphere, everyone aboard Fanning was quiet. Zuko, don't worry, Katara said, seeing how tense he was. We can take Yao Jing. I'm not worried about her, he replied. I'm worried about Aang. What if he doesn't have the guts to take out my father? What if he loses? Aang won't lose. He's gonna come back. He has to. We just need to have confidence in him. Azula agreed. If there was one thing she could admit about the airbender, it was that he tried to follow through and often succeeded. Location: Appa. Jiraiya and Akela sat in the saddle while Naruto flew Appa over the land. Are you nervous? Jiraiya asked the blonde. Should I be? He asked back. You're making it sound like this is my first time going into battle. In reality, it was the opposite. He had enough battles to give him distaste for it. This is your first time fighting against people you know. It's always different, fighting against faces you had been friends with before. Speaking from experience? He asked, silently conceding the fact. Allies have become enemies and vice versa, Jiraiya told him. So how did you deal with it? Odds were he was going to be fighting against soldiers that had served with or under him. He silently began to pray to Kami that wouldn't be the case. Simple. I kept my mind focused on what I was supposed to do. Yeah, well, now what we're supposed to attack people I might possibly know. Ironic, isn't it? Jiraiya asked him, despite already knowing the answer. Don't even start, he grumbled. Location: Fire Nation. Yao Jing sat in a chair as servants groomed her for the upcoming coronation. She took a cherry from a bowl one of the servants held up and popped it into her mouth. She immediately spat it back out when she crunched down a pit. What am I holding? She asked the servant holding the bowl. A cherry pit, princess, she answered. Correct. And what day is this? It is the day of your coronation. Yes, it is. So please, tell me why on the most important of my life, you've decided to put a pit in my cherry? She asked, throwing the pit at the servant. It wasn't a decision, it was just a small mistake. Small? Do you realize what could have happened if I hadn't sensed the pit in time? I suppose you could have choked? The servant weakly suggested. Yes, then you understand the severity of your crime. I understand, princess, please, forgive me. She bowed her head. Oh, very well, since it's a special day, I will show mercy. The servant smiled for a brief moment. You are banished. Leave this palace immediately. The servant couldn't protest, she knew that would be the death of her. She simply put the bowl down and backed out of the room with her head bowed. What are you all looking at? Yao Jing asked the other servants. I have 2 feet that need scrubbing. And make sure you get in between the toes. I won't have my first day as Fire Lord marred by poor foot hygiene. The servants were scared, but they did as they were ordered. Location, Eel Hound. As the eel hound swam through the water, Suki looked back behind them. It's weird to say, but the comet actually looks beautiful, she said. It had made the sky turn to a dark orange, the kind of color you would see briefly in the embers of a dead fire. Too bad the Fire Lord's about to use it to destroy the world, Toph replied. They stayed silent as they got closer to the island. When they got to the shore, they climbed off the eel hound and made their way up the slope. They reached the top and saw the fleet was beginning to move. We're too late, Sokka cried. The fleet's already taking off. Then we're taking off too, Toph declared. Where's the closest airship? It's right. He didn't finish what he was saying because the earthbender in the group bent the rock beneath them to shoot upwards and send them flying towards the nearest airship. They hit their peak of flight right next to the airship and managed to angle their descent to land on the bottom of the ship, catching Toph as she landed. They ran inside in order to start what they were supposed to do. As they did that, Ozai stood at the front of the flagship, an evil smirk on his face. Location, Fire Nation capital. Yao Jing sat on the throne of the Fire Lord. She had sent for the Dai Li that she had brought back with her, but they hadn't shown themselves. Where are they? She demanded. I have just received word that the Yuyan archers have taken them into custody, princess. A nearby servant told her nervously. What? Why? They were arrested on charges of treason. Bring the leader of the Yuyan archers here now, she ordered, the fire surrounding growing in height in response to her anger. Yes, princess, the servant said before scurrying out of the room. Location, Sokka's team. They made their way quietly up to the bridge, making sure that no one saw them. SSSHH, Sokka said as he and Suki walked up besides the door. Toph, on the other hand, walked up to the door, knocked on it to get the attention of the people inside, and then kicked it down. She then rolled forward and bent the metal door to form around her, creating armor. After withstanding a couple of fire blasts, she bent the metal in the room to pin most of the soldiers there to the wall or the ceiling. She then jumped up and crawled along an overhanging pipe and dropping down behind the last soldier. After he tried to punch her and failed, she sent him flying out of the room with a punch of her own. That's how it's done, she told Sokka and Suki as they walked into room, shedding the armor. Good work, Toph, Sokka told her. Time to take control of the ship, take the wheel, he told Suki. That's a great idea. Let the blind girl steer the giant airship, the earthbender said sarcastically. I was talking to Suki. That would make a lot more sense, she admitted. What are we going to do about the rest of the crew? Suki asked Sokka. Take us down closer to the water. I've got an idea. He grabbed a red tube that he knew was the announcement horn. Attention, crew, this is your captain speaking, he said, a deep voice. Everyone please report to the bomb bay immediately for hotcakes and sweet cream. We have a very special birthday to celebrate. Once he was done, Suki had the airship drop down closer to the water. Down in the bomb bay, every single crew member was milling around down there. Hey, one crew member said to another. I'm Chin Li, I work up in communications. Oh hi, said the second crew member. I work down in the engine room. That's probably why we never met before. Big airship, you know? Oh yeah, he agreed. So, do you know whose birthday it is? I can't believe the captain remembered my birthday, a third crew member said, walking up to them. He really does care. That was when the floor underneath them gave way, and they fell into the water. Happy birthday, the engineer offered as they came back up to the surface. Sokka stared out the broken window at the flagship. Fire Lord Ozai, here we come, he declared. Location, Fire Nation capital. You sent for me, princess? Bao Yu asked as he stood in front of Yao Jing. His stance showed that he wasn't intimidated or afraid of her. Why have you arrested my Dai Li? She demanded. We have reason to believe that they were plotting treason against the Fire Nation, he answered, keeping a neutral voice. How is that possible? They were loyal to me and only to me. That's probably what they wanted you to think, he said. It is quite possible that they were ordered to keep an eye on you. She narrowed her eyes at him. You mean to tell me that Naruto ordered them to do everything I said so they could spy on me? That couldn't be possible. She had won them over to her side all by herself. There was no way that blonde bastard had ordered them to watch her. I did not say that, princess. If that is all, I must get back to interrogating the prisoners. He bowed and walked away. Is your loyalty to me, Bao Yu, or is it to a traitor? I believe that is an obvious answer, princess, he answered without turning around. She snarled as she realized the truth. Naruto had ordered the Dai Li agents to spy on her and report back to him about what she was doing. Since she knew that the Yuyan archers were loyal to the Paragon first, they had the excuse of arresting the Dai Li agents so that they could get them away from her. Location, Appa. They stayed silent as they got closer and closer to their target. Finally, they saw the army. Well, there they are, Jiraiya said. There were quite a lot of them, if he wanted to be frank. Way to state the obvious, FS-sensei, Naruto replied. Would you stop calling me that? Would you prefer to be called Pervy Sage? No, I just want to be called by my name. I am calling you by your name. He turned his attention back to the army. Land in front of them, Appa, he told the Sky Bison. They landed with a loud crash, getting the attention of the army. Lord Naruto? Asked one of the soldiers, surprised to see the fire paragon. He leapt down from Appa's head. Hello men, we need to talk. Location, White Lotus. As the forces inside the inner city prepared, the Order of the White Lotus waited to attack. Ba Sing Se, the Order of the White Lotus is here. Here, Bumi said with complete seriousness. Here to set you free. Paco finished. Only once every 100 years can a firebender experience this kind of power, Iroh said to himself. As he felt the comet's power, he began to inhale and exhale. A ring of fire began to grow and shrink around the group. It got bigger and bigger every time he exhaled until, with a shout, he bent the fire into a single orb and threw at the inner wall. The part of the wall it hit was destroyed, creating a giant hole in it. Bumi bent the giant stone table they were on forward, moving towards the hole. The two other tables followed suit. As they got closer, sentries on the wall tried to bend fire bursts at them, but Iroh brushed them aside with his own fire bending. When they were close enough, Bumi bent the other three into the air before following himself. Paco landed on a rooftop. Bending a large amount of water up from nearby, he brought it down in a wave. He froze it just as Piandao joined them, giving them a slide. The Swordmaster slid through the enemies, cutting their weapons in half and inflicting minor injuries. As he ran off into an alley, Paco melted the ice back into water and brought it in front of him to block a blast of fire. The water was completely evaporated, and the waterbending master would have been killed by another fire blast had it not be for Zhong Zhong blocking it with his own fire. He floated in air, held up by his fire bending. As he floated over a square, more tanks opened fire on him. He bent a wall of flames to block and push back each attack, sending each tank into a pile. Location, Fire Nation capital. Yao Jing stood in front of a large mirror. As she had banished all of her servants, she was forced to do her own hair. She tried to tie her hair into a top knot, but her fingers kept getting stuck in the ribbon. "If you will not listen to what you are told to," she said, grabbing a pair of scissors, "you will be removed." She cut her haphazardly, giving her a somewhat crazed look. "Why would you do that? Your hair was lovely," Chun's voice told her. When she looked in the mirror, she saw her mother standing behind her. "Why are you here? You're dead," she demanded. "Just because I am no longer living, doesn't mean I can't be there for my daughter's coronation. Why do you keep up this charade? I know you hate me. I told before, Mei Li, I will always love you." She grabbed a nearby brush. "My name is Yao Jing," she screamed as she threw the brush at the mirror, shattering it. As she watched the pieces of glass fall to the ground, she unconsciously began to cry. She wiped the tears away. When she looked at the broken glass again, she stepped back away from them. Inside the broken pieces were the same eyes from her dream. Remember, she heard the voice in her head. "A deal's a deal." Location: Airship Fleet. They were approaching the shore of the Earth Kingdom. The first thing they would destroy was Wulong Forest. Ozai took a deep breath and smirked in triumph at an apparently easy victory. Meanwhile, the commandeered airship was trying to reach the flagship, but it was faster. "We're not going to catch to him in time," Sokka told the others. "No," Suki protested quietly. On the flagship, Ozai closes his eyes and let the power of the comet flow through his body. When he opened his eyes, he took his stance and bent forth a large column of fire. He directed this fire at the earth and began to destroy the land. But while all life was fleeing from this fire, two stayed where they were. Aang was standing on a stone pillar with Momo on his shoulder, watching Ozai destroy the Earth Kingdom. "Momo, time for you to go," Aang told the lemur. It flew away, leaving him to take a deep breath. Swinging his legs into various kicks, he bent the pillar beneath him to break chunks and fly at the airship. They zipped past Ozai and smashed into the propellers, causing him to lose his balance, and causing the ship to start drifting. He bent a large fireball at the rest of the engine, destroying it completely. As the ship began to fall, Ozai stared down at the Avatar. When he saw him lower his hands, he took it as a challenge. He removed his armor, cloak and shirt, burning them if he couldn't get it off fast enough, leaving him bare-chested. He leapt off the ship and used his fire bending to fly. As the ship crashed into the pillars, he flew at Aang and landed on pillar opposite of him. "What just happened?" Suki asked as she saw the fire stop and the airship crash. "It's Aang," Sokka said as he lowered the telescope. "He's back." Location: Naruto's team. "What are you doing here, Lord Naruto?" a soldier asked him. "I'm here to stop you from your orders," Naruto told him, recognizing him as a man who served under him once. "I can't let you destroy the Earth Kingdom. But we must follow our orders. Even if it meant you have to fight your former commander? Orders are orders. We have to follow them, even if we don't like them." "Those were your words, sir," another soldier told him. "Yeah, that's true. I probably shouldn't have said that," he admitted. He certainly wouldn't have said it if it was going to be used against him. "If it's true, you snot-nosed little brat, you should just step aside," a third soldier spat. "I guess not all of them like you, huh?" Jiraiya asked the blonde. "I served with some served under me, and the rest didn't," he sighed. "Look, don't kill unless you have to. Like they said, they have to follow orders." He rolled his shoulders back and loosened up the muscles. "If we're going to do this, looks like I'm going to have to break my one rule." And he had worked to not break that rule. And that was no jutsus in front of people. He put his hands into an old hand seal. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu, Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu. A vast cloud of smoke appeared behind him. When the smoke cleared, he had his own army, made completely up of clones. The sight of such a thing scared many of the soldiers there, most doubly so. To them, one Naruto was bad enough. "Alright then, let's get to it," he said. "Charge." And so, a virtual tidal wave of Naruto, plus a sky bison, a wolf, and a super pervert/sadist, slammed into the army. Location: Wulong Forest. The two faced other as the ship behind Ozai burned. "After generations of fire lords failed to find you, now the universe delivers you to me as an act of providence," he said, arrogance leaking out through each word he spoke. "Please listen to me," Aang begged him. "We don't have to fight. You have the power to end it here and stop what you're doing." "You are right. I do have the power. I have all the power in the world." He said the last word as he breathed fire and bent two streams of flame from his hands in a show of force. When Aang heard this, he stepped back into a stance. Once he was done showing off, Ozai attacked. He did a little jump and slammed his fist into the pillar, bending a ring of fire around him. Aang jumped over the ring and then landed back on the pillar. Using his earthbending, he pulled the top chunk of the pillar off and threw it at Ozai. He jumped off the pillar and stayed in the air using the same method as before. He flew at Aang, who leapt at him in turn. Both of their fire bending smashed into each other, briefly creating a cloud of flame. Location: Sokka's team. "Go Aang!" Sokka cheered as he watched the fight from a long distance away. "Kick his ass." "Shouldn't we be helping him?" Suki asked the tribesman. "The Fire Lord is Aang's fight. We need to stay focused on stopping that fleet from burning down the Earth Kingdom." "And how do we do that, Captain Boomerang?" Toph asked with a little sarcasm. "I can't see outside of the floating hunk of metal." He looked out the window. "I've got something in mind. Let me take the wheel, Suki." She relinquished control of the wheel, and he grabbed it. He flew the ship up into the air, higher than the other ships. Then, with a great heave, he spun the wheel to the left. The ship banked to the left and flew backwards. Meanwhile, the rest of the fleet was approaching the shoreline. The firebenders who stood on the platform in front of the ship took their stances, and did the same thing Ozai did. They bent a large burst of flame. The land began to burn as their fire consumed everything. "Whoa. That's a lot of fire, isn't it?" Toph asked as she stared out of a broken window, feeling the heat on her face. As the ship had finally faced the other ships, Sokka let the wheel spin back into place. He pulled the levers around him, putting everything the ship had into maximum. The exhaust pipes as well as the engine began to sprout fire. "It's gonna be a rough ride," he told the others as he grabbed Toph by the hand. "We need to get to the top of this thing, fast." He hurried her out of the bridge. "Then what?" asked Suki. "Watch each other's back, and if we make it that far, I'll let you know," he answered before quickly kissing her. The ship reached the others and smashed into their tops, sending them falling to the water. But it was taking its own damage. As the three climbed onto the top, the ship began to break apart. They ran to the front of the ship in order to escape the damage, but the dragon's head suddenly broke in half, with Suki on one side and Sokka and Toph on the other. "Suki!" cried Sokka. She landed on the ship they had crashed into. "I'm okay," she shouted. "Just finished the mission." "No," he whispered. "Sokka, I think we gotta." Toph began. "Jump." They both shouted as the piece they were on smashed into the next airship. They landed on the ship and he covered her as debris fell around them. Location: Naruto. "Oh, and there's goes another clone," the QB stated as he watched the fight. "I don't need color commentary right now. Naruto told him as he ducked under a sword swing and rammed his elbow into his enemy's stomach. The fight between the two armies could go either way at this point. The clones, Jiraiya and Akela, did their best not to kill their opponents, but were sometimes forced to. Appa just sent his opponent flying with a swing of his tail. But the soldiers of the Fire Nation were giving it as good as they were taking it. A good number of the clones had disappeared and both the original and Jiraiya were sporting minor wounds. Akela was a little better off, but not by much. Appa tried to stay in the air, but was sometimes forced to land. When that happened, the soldiers would always try to rush in and circle him. That, in turn, would make one of the other three along some of the clones beat them back. "You hanging in there, Gaki?" asked Jiraiya as they fought back to back. "I'm doing fine, how about you?" he asked back as he swept his enemy's legs out from under him. "I'm doing okay. It's been a while since I was in a fight this big. Should we stop it so you can rest your bones?" he asked sarcastically. "Funny, kid, real funny," he replied drily as he buried his fist in someone's midsection. "Just asking, that's all. Save your questions for later, we have a fight going on here." "I know that, I started it," the blonde told him. "Then try to finish it." They leapt away from each other and back into the fray. Location: Fire Nation capital. The coronation ceremony had begun, but no one was there to see it. Only Yao Jing and the fire sages were there. By decree of Phoenix King Ozai, the head fire sage said as he held the headpiece of the Fire Lord, "I now crown you Fire Lord." He trailed off as he and the other sages saw what was in the sky. "What are you waiting for?" Yao Jing demanded. "Do it already." The roar of a dragon was heard as Fanning landed in the plaza. "Sorry, but you're going to become Fire Lord today," Zuko declared as he climbed off the dragon. "I am." "How funny of you, little brother," she replied, laughing. "I wasn't aware you had a sense of humor." "What makes you think I'm kidding?" "The fact that I know little Azula wouldn't allow you to be Fire Lord, even if she had casted herself out of the royal family. If it was between you or him, Yao Jing, I'd picked Zuko every time," Azula told her as she and Katara joined him. She growled as she stood up. "Fine, if you want to be Fire Lord so badly, Zuko, then come and take it from me. I challenge you to an Agni Kai." "You're on," he replied quickly enough. Katara was surprised by that. "What are you doing?" she asked in a whisper. "She's playing you. She knows she can't take all three of us, so she's trying to separate us. But this is a legal way of obtaining the title of Fire Lord," Azula told her. "If Zuko defeats her, then by rights he gets the title. And it would save them a lot of potential problems in the future. Plus, I can take her this time," Zuko said. "But even you admitted to your uncle that you would need help facing her," Katara protested. "There's something off about her. I can't explain it, but she's slipping even more than before. And this way, nobody else has to get hurt. Always the noble one, aren't you?" Azula asked him with sarcasm, making the three of them smile a little bit. The two combatants moved to opposite sides of the plaza, with their backs turned to each other. The fire sages had disappeared, leaving only Katara and Azula as witnesses. When they heard the sound of a distant bell, they stood up and turned to face each other. "I'm sorry I have to do this, little brother," Yao Jing said, spitting out the last two words as she removed the robe she had worn over her armor. "Don't even try lying now, Yao Jing," he replied, already in his stance. "You've been looking an excuse to do this since we were children. You know what? You're right." She took a fire-bending stance and threw a fireball that was tinged with black at him. He blocked it by bending his own fire into a wall. The two fires hit each other and then dispersed. She leapt into the fray, throwing multiple fireballs and arcs at him. "I will win this," she thought to herself. I will win that bet. Location, Wulong Forest. Aang gave ground as Ozai chased him through the forest of stone pillars. He landed on one of the pillars just as the Phoenix King kicked a large arc of fire at him. He cut it in half, and then used his earthbending to tear a small rock out and threw at his opponent, which he dodged with ease. He sent another fire blast at him, making the airbender jump over to a nearby waterfall. He fired off another shot, but that was extinguished by the water Aang bent out of the waterfall. He threw the water at Ozai, but he jumped off the rock before getting hit. He kept pushing his advantage, forcing his enemy back further and further. Aang tried to stop him with a big rock he bent up from the cliff side, but he flew around with ease and bent another blast of fire at him. He bent the air into a tornado, giving him protection as he flew towards a pillar. Ozai landed on another one and bent a big burst of fire at him. He swiftly moved to the back of the pillar to protect himself from the fire. He then leapt to another pillar and then, using it as a launching point, leapt back at the first pillar using his air bending to enhance his speed and using his earth bending to kick a large part of the top at the Phoenix King. But he already saw it coming and flew off to the side. As Aang was still kicking it, he bent a powerful stream of fire at him. He reacted quickly and blocked the stream with his own. But the force of the two sent him crashing into a nearby pillar. He fell down to a narrow ledge the pillar and collapsed, groaning in pain. Seeing an opportunity, Ozai landed on the same ledge. But this made Aang get his second wind back and used the pillar to cover himself in rock armor. His opponent pushed him down the ledge with a blast of fire. When he was at the edge, he was forced to jump out of the armor to avoid a short fire arc. He readjusted himself in the air and bent a large blast of wind at Ozai. He jumped to the side, generating lightning as he did, and when he landed on the next pillar, he fired the lightning. When he saw this, Aang quickly bent another tornado to protect him and to carry him up to the top of the pillar. Ozai fired another round of lightning at him, making him keep going in the air. The Phoenix King followed and fired another round lightning at him, destroying a large rock shield he bent off a pillar. He dodged the next one, but when he landed on a pillar, another round of lightning came at him. He took his stance and let the lightning travel down his arm. The pain made him cry out a few times, but he forced himself to aim his other arm at Ozai. But when he saw the expression of shock and terror on his face, he had only one thought in his mind. I can't do it. He pointed the lightning off to the side and let it discharge into the air. He fell to the ground, exhausted. Sensing a victory at hand, Ozai sent a jet of flame at him. He stood up and tried to protect himself by bending a shield up from the rock, but the jet smashed through the rock and sent him flying into the air. He closed his eyes to protect them from the dust, but when he opened them, he saw he was heading for water. He tilted himself back upright and tried to bend the air to break his fall. When that didn't work, he bent the water to rise up and catch him. As he stood up, letting the water hold him, he saw that Ozai was coming at him and coming fast. Location, Fire Nation capital. If one was to look at the royal city, they would see huge blasts of fire briefly illuminating the sky before disappearing. Both were the normal orange color of fire, but one was tinged with black. The Agni Kai between Zuko and Yao Jing had been enhanced by the comet, and they were setting buildings afire in their duel. Both bent a stream of fire at each other, the force was so great between them that they curved to the side. Zuko's feet began to slip as he felt her fire brush past him, but he held his stance. When that ended, Yao Jing leapt into the air and swung a large arc of fire from her foot at him. He used his own bending to split the arc apart. As Yao Jing knelt on one knee, panting, he bent two intertwining fireballs at her. She rolled to the side and began to hover over the ground using her fire bending. She then raced towards him, bending fireball after fireball at him. He blocked the first one by bending a wall of fire underneath him and sending him up into the air. He then swung a kick and bent an arc of fire at the second one. As he began to fall back down, he clapped his hands together and swung them down in a chopping motion, bending his fire to block the stream of fire she sent at him. She began to circle around him, bending blasts of fire at him, which he blocked effortlessly. He tried to hit her with a stream of fire, but she was too fast and kept moving. Finally, he crouched down and began to spin around on his back, swinging legs and bending fire from them. They came together into a large arc of fire that he threw at her. It successfully hit her, causing her to lose control of her bending and crash into the ground, rolling down the plaza. As she stood back up, her panting became more rapid and she began to have a look of madness on her face. "No lightning today?" Zuko asked her. "What's the matter? Are you afraid I'll redirect it? Or can you not generate it at all? You want lightning?" She screamed. "Then have some." She began to generate lightning in her fingers. Her stance was off and unbalanced, so it took her longer to generate it. As she did this, Zuko took a deep breath and readied himself to redirect it. When she fired the lightning, it was only when it was in motion he realized that she didn't aim it at him, she aimed at Katara and Azula, who weren't expecting it. "No!" he cried out, leaping in front of the bolt. It hit him square in the chest as he tried to redirect it. He was able to shoot it off into the air, but fell to the ground, twitching as the electricity coursed through his body and groaning in pain from his wound. Zuko!" shouted Katara. She tried to run over to him, but was blocked by a ball of fire. "No outside interference," Yao Jing told her with the crazed grin plastered on her face. "You'll make him forfeit if you break the rules. You broke the rules the moment you fired on us, you bitch." Azula shouted as she leapt into battle, sending a stream of fire at her half-sister. She brushed the stream aside with ease and began to generate lightning again. Azula saw what she was doing and began to do the same. They both fired at the same time and the two streams of lightning hit each other. They cancelled each other out, but caused a shockwave instead. While Yao Jing only skidded back a few feet, Azula was caught off guard and was sent flying backwards, slamming into a nearby pillar and falling unconscious. That left only Katara awake against a person who was losing her sanity. Location: Wulong Forest. "Run! Run away!" Aang thought to himself as he saw Ozai flying towards him. It was the only thought that was in his mind. He turned around and tried to get away, using his waterbending to help. When he reached the shore, he stumbled and fell down. When he saw that Ozai was still coming after him, he bent the surrounding rock to form around him, creating a sphere. Ozai laughed as he stood over the sphere. "You're weak, just like the rest of your people," he told the hiding avatar. "They did not deserve to exist in this world, in my world. Prepare to join them. Prepare to die." He struck his hands against the sphere, causing it to heat up. He then leapt back and threw another blast at it. Location: Naruto's. He kept on attacking the soldiers, but it wasn't looking good. The clones were disappearing more rapidly now, and the soldiers who were still fighting were the ones who had never served with him. They were attacking with more lethal force and didn't care whether they hit their own fallen or not. He saw Appa land again and tried to make his way over to the Sky Bison. But as he tried to get there, someone knocked his feet out from under him, making him fall to the ground. As he rolled over to his back, he saw a large soldier standing over him with a pike ready. As the soldier brought the pike down, aiming for his stomach, the only thing he could think of was, well, fuck. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.